I'm going to demonstrate the use of our cloud integration client for UltraVISION. Basically, the user would install an application. You can see I have an icon here called Virtual CD, though you can call it whatever you like, depends on on how you're using the product. I double click on it. I'm going to choose which archive I want to use for my query. So in this case, I'm going to choose my referring portal archive. I'm going to do a query for a patient whose last name is Maddox. I do my query, and there are the two studies for Irene Maddox. I want to create a package for that patient, either for the referring physician or for the patient. I'm going to click on the studies that I want to create the package, and then click Set Data. At this point, this client that you see is sending a message to the PACS telling it to send the studies to the cloud server, which in most cases would be something like UltraVISION. Once it's completed, I'm going to click on Set User, and I would fill in the information about the patient. So for example, my patient's email address might be irenemaddox@gmail.com, and perhaps I want to send an email notification so the patient gets an email with the link and the username to log in. Her last name is Maddox, her first name is Irene. I could generate a login, or I could leave it as irene.maddox@gmail.com. If you click on Generate, it auto-generates a login account. I'll leave this selected so you can see what that looks like. And I can also generate a password, or I could type in a password. But typically, it's better to generate the password so you know you have a secure password for the patient. And finally, I click the Create User button. When I click Create User, it's going to ask me if I want to print. I'm going to say no because I don't have a printer on this computer, but if I said yes, it would launch the printer dialog and I could print the document for the patient. And here, it displays the information about the patient. So you can see I have user 00006. Here's the password for the patient, and this is the login address. I'm going to close this. Now that I'm done creating this virtual CD or this cloud access for this patient, I can click Next Patient to start the next record, or I could click Close to close the program. And just to show you, if I just do a blank query, here's a whole bunch of studies that are on my archive, and I could perhaps select a couple different patients, maybe for a single referring physician, click Set Data, and it's going to send all of those studies to the archive. And then I could create an account for a referring physician that could access all of the studies or patients that I selected in the list. So now we're going to look at the study in the cloud. So the patient would go to a website and they would log in. So in this case, we're using Irene Maddox. So I'll put her username and password in. I'll click Login. I get a list of her studies. I can double click. It's going to load it in the viewer. We have three viewers. The first is what we call our JPEG viewer. This is a very simple viewer based only on JavaScript. It works in just about any browser. It has some very basic tools, flip, rotate, very simple little zoom tool, but this viewer will work in just about any browser. We also have a Flash-based viewer, which is what you see now. It has a few additional tools, so you'll see the images load here in just a second. And there's basic tools such as window level, pan, zoom, scroll. Again, just some basic things that you might expect to see in a basic viewer, but certainly sufficient for a referring physician. And then we have our Silverlight viewer, which is a bit more advanced. It has more functionality. This is obviously a full DICOM viewer, which includes some custom measurement tools, stack mode viewing, cut lines, things like that are supported in this viewer. So this would be definitely a better tool for a more advanced user, such as a referring physician, but maybe not necessarily for a patient. And of course, when you configure the system, you can configure which types of users get access to which viewers when they log in. And that's basically the viewer part of this product. And then I also wanted to show you the soft CD option. You click on soft CD, we can generate a CD. So the user would simply select the options they want on the CD. They can include a report if it's available. They can get the original uncompressed DICOM images, which is typical if you want to be able to import this study to your PACS. And you can include a free viewer. Click Request Process, or Process Request rather, and it's going to create a zip file that has the entire CD, which you can then download. So I'm going to click the download button, and you can see it's downloading my CD. This one happens to be 38.4 megabytes, so it'll take a couple seconds for it to download. And once it downloads, I can show you what the CD will look like. So I'm just going to click here, just like a user would. I'm going to open up the folder, and I'll show you what the actual CD would look like. So here's the contents of the CD. You can see we have DICOM. The W content contains the JPEGs. There is a DICOM dir, so some systems require that for importing. If they're on just about any computer, the index will open. This is just a little web page on the CD, and then our free viewer, which is UltraView Lite. So if they burn this to a CD and then put the CD in a computer, it'll auto run and open up View Lite and this index page. And of course, if they wanted to import the DICOM images, they could do so. They are stored as DICOM in this little soft CD gets created. And just to be clear, this could be turned off. So if you prefer not to allow patients to burn their own CD, this can be disabled so that only certain users can burn a CD. And that's it. So that's basics of using our software to get information into the cloud for access to images from your PACS.